Good afternoon, Young Kings. Time for your more motivation. It's been about a week or so since I've been on. Been quite busy at work. Got a lot of inspections and stuff going on, so been having to get to work earlier. I've still been getting my workout in and doing my strengthening and conditioning, but the time has been so tight from the time I finish my workout to the time I got to get to work that I haven't, done a video. Um, at some point in times, I thought about doing them in the evenings, and we may switch to that because this inspection I'm going through, it's going to be about a 6 month inspection where they come and check our records and making sure we're following all the procedures and stuff right. But I still wanted to help. Well, I wanted to navigate through this process being transparent as possible. So my last video that I did was, I think it was about a week ago, or maybe even been longer than that. Certainly lose track, but it was the beginning of the ending, and was told that the papers had been filed. So this is going to be our new series. Um, Although it's a part of the Dark Knight, I'm not going to name it that. This is going to be the divorce, getting into the dynamics of that whole process and going through that. So we're in the midst of it. Um, it's not what I wanted, but it is what I have, and it's what I'm accepting. Um, some of these videos been going back and forth because there's a part of me that's divided in this. There's part of me that's saying no. Let's hold on. And a part of me is saying, hey, this is liberation, this is freedom. My counselor told me, she says, relationships fail. Don't look at it as that you failed. In order for a relationship to fail, it takes two people. So our relationship has come to its conclusion, or at least we're going through the court process, and byproduct of a lot of things that's transpired since then. Um, I think it would be foolish of me trying um, to chase someone that doesn't want to be caught. So I understand that there's an element of me that would always love this woman, um, but the love I have for her now is more for her well-being. Um, I was going through a book, and it was recommended, so from Eric. Um, now what? What to do when you're going through this divorce and this process, and it's kind of been another form of therapy in itself. And it made some statements in the book that um, the woman that you are pursuing and chasing to try to reconcile, it's not the same woman you fell in love with. You know, that woman that you built this relationship with is no longer living there. What you're dealing with is someone who has changed, and regardless of what the reason is for a change, it changes. And it's like some of the changes that's been made is not something that I want to be included in the relationship. So I've done some things over the back and forth, trying to flip flop, and man, and that's, I mean, I guess that's life. It's part of those things when you're going through something. The easiest thing to do is try to go back into your comfort zone. It's like it's like a man that's been in jail a long time, and they're used to the confinement, the structure of the prison cell. Excuse me. They're used to that. And then when they get out and they finally get early probation or something to get out of jail, they don't know what to do. Like with that freedom, with that new environment. So their desire is like, man, I knew what I was going to be dealing with day to day. I knew what my schedule was, even though it was in a prison cell. I knew that's where I was comfortable at. But now I'm out and decisions have to be made. What do I do now? And there's a desire that some people would start thinking like they're better off in prison, just like the same when the people were led out of the Egypt, and Moses let them out. Some of them, once they got their freedom, they were saying like, you know, we were better in Master's house. We were better in some of the former slaves. They'd be like, we were better with Master. At least he fed us. He might have beat us a few times. He didn't treat us well, but at least he gave us scraps off the table. Um, and that's where I was leading up to this process, meaning that our relationship hadn't been a prosperous one, but I still was with my comfort zone. So part of me was saying like, hey, it's it's not what I want, but it's what I'm used to. It's what I have. And I think there's an element of her maturity. She understands that too. Like this is not what she want, but it's what she kind of tolerated for 25 years. And I say tolerated, and this would be probably the last thing that I said. I did during the initial process of this thing. I stumbled across the diary, and I did read it, and I know that's an invasion of privacy and stuff of that nature. But it was dated back to 1995, and the statements in there now, after reading that, it aligns with some of the decisions she's made throughout these years. And the statement stated like, "Hey, I can't stand him. I hate him. I wish I never married him. I hope he fails at everything he tries. I don't want to leave him because I got kids, and I don't want to be raising kids by myself." And I mean, reading that in 1995 and then experiencing it in 2020, it's like, no, I didn't fail. But I used to always ask her, I said, you don't understand. Like, when I win, we win. Like, when I fail, you fail. Like, what I'm doing is for the family. And I never understood why I could never get her on my team. Why she would never be supportive. And it's hard to support people that you wish and failed. But regardless of that, I don't have any hard feelings because I understand that I'm not perfect. I've cheated, and maybe that led to that. But and it's like my response was like the first 5 years of our marriage, she refused to live with me. Now, how do you? I mean, maybe I shouldn't have stayed that long, but that first 5 years, like, man, what is a man supposed to do? Well, I guess you can say he's supposed to be disciplined and not do anything, but that wasn't my story. Um, I remember being on the phone begging and pleading for my wife to come live with me, and she told me to man up. She didn't. She felt more comfortable here. So, but then when when something happens, now it's my fault that and it is. I was a grown man. I was 20 years old. 21, 22 when this stuff started to transpire. But the reality of it is like, had she been by my side, we would have navigated life differently. But that's neither here nor there. The divorce is happening, and the more I reflect on it, the more I understand it needs to happen because this wasn't healthy from the beginning. Like I said, the first 5 years of our marriage, she just refused. And the only reason we're still married is because I got out the army the first time. I turned on a full scholarship, and I came back to Michigan without a job, without any education and everything. And I started over from scratch in order to try to build our relationship. And I did build it back up. Through God's grace, He allowed me to build it back up. But I came backwards to try to save this marriage. It's not like she was working here. It wasn't like she had a career here or anything of that nature. So if she said, well, I don't want to leave my career and I don't want to do this, I want to do that would have probably been more understandable. But she was a stay-at-home mom. I was the only breadwinner. And so I got to quit my job and I got to turn down a scholarship, which would allow me to advance in this job in order to come back and start over from scratch. But you don't have a plan for when we get back here. So I created another plan, and by God's grace, I did navigate from getting out and then now making it to Lieutenant Colonel. So I'm not saying I'm a victim for coming back, but what I'm saying is that I didn't have boundaries in place or a healthy relationship to begin with, and it never got better. And I used to always think time heals things, and that's not the case. It takes leadership to do that, and I realized like as much effort as I put into my professional life, um, I was neglectful in my personal life. I was thinking like, hey, we supposed to be navigating this together. We're supposed to be mutual. We're supposed to be building each other. But it takes two. And when I read that in the diary, and then once again I know it was wrong, but it brings so much light to her attitude towards me over the last 25 years. Like I said, she wrote this in 1995, and we got married in 95. you know, like this is right after like that phase when she's telling me she don't want to come down there. It's like, so from 95 to 2020, she's had this resentment about me. So regardless of that, hey, life goes on. And I realized, like, I was reading this quote today, and I think it was so heaven sent. And it says, sometimes God's blessings are not what he gives you, but what he takes away. He knows best. Trust him. So some of the blessing, you know, we think of God as like the spiritual ATM, but the reality of it is, it's like there's no money in that ATM, you know. So sometimes what God is taking away, and I'm not saying God is taking my wife away or he ruined my marriage, but I know that the end was known before it began. Like God knew this was going to happen, and I do thank him that we were able to get through 25 years and raise kids to their adult life. And I'm sure there's some additional parenting that's going to need to take place in there, but as they have observed the unhealthy relationship, so we will have to continue to do that. So wish her well. I hope the next person she's with, she doesn't hate, that she can actually flourish and grow, because I know my next one, I plan on having a healthy relationship, and that's going to start with a healthier version of me. So as I mentioned, the divorce is on. She told me she served me, and I get home, and there were some things that I needed to pick up from the post office. So this is the official letter. We're going through this together. Like, went and got this. So let's take a look at the envelope of what it says. It looks like she went with a Newberg Law. Look at the law firm. It's out of Grand Ledge. Grand Ledge is one of the higher affluent areas here. So she probably spent some money to go do this. It says return receipt requested. So obviously there's some documents that I gotta go through and fill out. Restricted delivery, and man, they spent $13.25 to mail this to me. So man, feels kind of healthy, solid. Let's see what this says. Let's learn this together. So excuse me, we're gonna probably try to open this up. You know, Dr. Drew, or attorney at law, or attorney about to see how he can represent his client and to the best of his ability. So so she is the plaintiff and I am the defendant, obviously. This is a summons for me from the county clerk's office. Looks like they received it on the 26th of October. And there's an expiration on here for the 25th of January for us to be able to, I guess, to do this. And I want to see if we can probably get this done probably expediently, because I don't want to go through a holiday season with this strife. And we'll go through there. So let's see, a domestic relations case. There is one or more pending or resolved cases within the jurisdiction of family division of court involving a family or family members of the persons who are subjected to the complaint. I have filed separately and completed confidential case inventory form MC21 listing those cases. So looks like I'll have to go see what form C is, and then there's some documents with she's the plaintiff, I'm the defendant. Her attorney is like a Mikey V. Welshert. So my attorney is Andrew James Morton. So I guess the two attorneys will have to have a conversation on how we can get this resolved and get this thing going. But there's normally something in here. Here it is. I guess this is the form. Case number 20-2433. Kind of show you that there for those who are watching in. There is an issue to resolve a case within the jurisdiction of the family division of the circuit court involving family members or members of a person who are subject to the complaint or petition, and it gives the case number. It says, now that on 16th day of June 1995, our parties were legally married by a minister, duly authorized and solemnly marriage in Lansing, Michigan, and Ingham. Yep, we were married. Our prior name was Loris Lesvig, and then the defendant's name prior to marriage was mine, Andrew James Morton, the same as my attorney. The plaintiff and defendants are a resident of the county of Ingham in the state of Michigan to reside for the county court more than 10 days preceding the filing. So yes, we have been there more than 10 days. Parties separated on March 1st of 2020. That's probably not accurate. It's been a lot longer than that. But the plaintiff is not now pregnant, at least not for me, because I haven't touched her, but I'm sure that dude in Detroit probably got some seeds up in there, but that's neither here nor there. But the plaintiff is in need of spousal support, and the defendant is capable of assisting her. So although she hates me, she still wants my money. So the plaintiff is in need of spousal support, and the defendant is capable. How you know my capability? You don't know what I got going on. I'm going to talk to my attorney about that. Past relation and conduct of both parties. Both parties have attempted to make the marriage work. That's a lie. I don't think you made any attempt, but we will say if that was your attempt, we'll go on with that. The length of marriage. Both parties married in June 15th of June 15th. No, it was June 16th we got married, so that's wrong. So we got to talk to your attorney. They got to pay attention to detail, because my attorney be on it. He be looking at those dates and realizing that that's a day off. So anyways, we were married on June 16th and 1995, and I believe you wrote that letter that you hate me probably around September. So really, you probably should have had that annulled. But anyways, the length of the marriage, 25 years. Ability for parties to work. Plaintiff works in account receivable. Defendant is a lieutenant colonel in the Michigan Army National Guard. So, yep. The source and amount of properties and to the parties to be determined. Gave us our age. We're both 45. All right, and then it goes to clause F. The ability of the parties to pay alimony. And it gets into some findings on here. Plaintiff, well, she just got a new job, so we're going to have to review that. I won't put your annual salary out there, but I know you were out in job hunting. It's amazing what people, when they want to leave, how they can try to better themselves for themselves. I guess that's what you're supposed to do, is better yourself for yourself. But when you're in a marriage, you don't try to build. You don't want to do anything other than take what I have, and I guess that's where the alimony comes in at. But anyways, the needs of the party. Plaintiffs in need of spousal support in order to provide for her needs. Why isn't the new dude doing this? Like provide for your needs. Like you want to dissolve our marriage, but like you still want me to pay for your lifestyle. I mean, but I guess that's the way the court system works. They allow that stuff to happen. The health of the parties, both parties are healthy. So if we're both healthy, then we both should be able to take care of ourselves. Prior to the standard of living of the parties maintain a comfortable standard of living during their marriage. Yeah, whether each party is responsible for the support. Neither party is responsible for the support of others, like all our kids are above 18. General principles of equity. Equity that's provided by the defendants. They want me to pay spousal support. Plaintiff requests defendant pay her attorney fees. Defendant has ability to, hold up. Let me slow down on that. Plaintiff requests defendant pay her attorney fees. Defendant has the ability to do so, and the plaintiff has a need for them to be paid. What? Let me count my pockets. This is what you want to do, so I'm not financing that. That's one thing I'm going to talk to my attorney about that. Number 10, There has been a breakdown of the married relationship to the extent of their matrimony has been destroyed, and there remains no reasonable likelihood that the marriage can be preserved. Yeah, that's about accurate. Especially if you can't let the dude go in Detroit. And I've tried, but I mean, um, this is what you want. This is what you get. I mean, let's do it. The marriage between the parties devolved in divorce. Um, it says, wherefore the plaintiff being without relief, except in the honorable course to praise as follows. Court prays as follows, that the marriage between the parties may be devolved in divorce ordered. Spousal support ordered to be paid by plaintiff. The court grants plaintiff's requests for attorney fees. The court award equitable property settlement using its discretion at what is equitable. And this is where they get into the Kersmer versus Kersmer, 48 Michigan applications 279. So I'm gonna have to forward that over to my attorney so he can look that up and what that means. But we'll divide the property. The court grants such order that the further relief for the plaintiff is deemed just and equitable. Okay. And then it says this, I guess this when it was filed on October 20th, 2020. Before me appeared the above named plaintiff and made an oath that she has read the foregoing verified complaint for the divorce and have subscribed and knows the contents thereof, and the same is true of her own knowledge, except as to the matters therein to be in information and belief in those matters she believed to be true. So she believes this to be true. But I guess it is what it is. We are going through this process. I'm gonna have to sit down and do some studying on this thing, and I don't know. This will be the process, but I know, and I'm just reflecting on just some of the things I've said in this. But I'm not mad. I mean, I'm disappointed, and there's been some setbacks. So it's probably I'll probably have to rewind some of these comments. No, this is authentic. This is how I feel. But during this process, I don't want to go down this bashing thing. It has been a bad marriage on both sides. I think that there was opportunity for us to restore it that we didn't take advantage of, and I think there was some leadership failures on me, meaning that I created the conditions for this thing to grow or to deteriorate, for it not to grow. Like, it got to a point where I wanted her to want me, and I didn't want her to feel like I was forcing her to be with me. So when she didn't want to be with me, I conditioned my life to adjust to accommodate her, and that's one thing that I was more accommodating than I think would have been necessary. Because I think if I had held the line on what I wanted, then one or two things would have happened. The marriage would have ended at an earlier state, and we probably could have not have hurt each other as much, or we would have had a more structured environment where we navigate through life together. But as I mentioned, and it's getting over 23 minutes, this is going to be a process. And I tell you what, I'm okay. I thought receiving it in the mail would be worse, but my mind is already detached from this marriage. I went over there, gave her a gift for her birthday, and I went all out. Gave her a gold watch and gave her some money because she was going out of town to visit my daughter, and she made a statement that she was going to be there to Tuesday. I'm coming to find out, she wasn't there to Tuesday. She was back down in Detroit the other days. So I wonder if she wore it's not even my watch, but I gave her a watch for her birthday. I wonder if she wore it while she was with him or who she was with, but that's neither here nor there. That's one of those shallow comments that I got to get over. So forgive me if I keep going through that, because I don't want to keep doing that, but that's an element of this. But as I mentioned, like, the end was known before, and this is where I was pointing out today. And when I get into this, I don't want you to take it from the perspective like I'm holier than thou, because I have sinned, and this is principally my failure as a man and me learning from that failure and growing from it. So um, I will rebound, and I have. I mean, there's there's been opportunities that I've been turning down for the hope of an opportunity with my wife. So I don't think I'm going to struggle getting into finding a woman, but that's my main objective is for me to be whole, like, and for me to be better, and I need to get better. So um, Jeremiah 1, and this is not meant to throw scripture out there like I'm a call me the street pastor or something, or whatever who it is, the bootleg lawyer pastor, but this is where I was drawn to today, and it's Jeremiah 1:5, and it says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I have appointed you to be a prophet to the nations." And then I said to the Lord, now this is Jeremiah, responding. The Lord is saying, look, I knew what I created. I created you in my image, and before I put you in your mama's womb, I knew you. And this is and then Jeremiah's responding. He's about to respond. And then I said, at last, Lord God, behold, I do not know how to speak, because I am young. But the Lord said to me, do not say I am a youth, because everywhere I send you, you shall go. So I realized, like, when God called Jeremiah, he was saying, like, I called you even before you was in your mama's womb. And the first thing that um, Jeremiah responded with was an excuse of what his reality was. And he put that I am young, but others may put other things. I don't know where to go, or I'm going through a divorce, or this, like. But the reality of it is like God didn't say, like, based on your experience, based on you went to this university, you got this right, and you were ready to advance in this area. God is saying, before all that, I called you. So that was significant to me. Like, the end was known before the beginning. And then I'm gonna flip over to the verse 29, because in this verse, the title on the message, to the verse 29, it says, "Message to the exiles." So they have come out of bondage, come out of one situation, and now they're in this what they're considered exile, which is not a pleasurable place to be, which is where I'm at. I'm kind of in exile from this marriage and stuff. Um, and it says, "Now these were the words to the letter which Jeremiah the prophet sent to Jerusalem to the rest of the elders of the exile, the priests, the prophets, and all the people who Nebuchadnezzar had to extend the exile from Jerusalem to Babylon." Um, and it goes through and it talks about that, them being in exile, like God is with them while they're doing this. So although they're in exile, it gets down to verse 4, and it says, "Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to all the exiles," not to all who are in comfort, to all those who got everything right, to all those who just got easy streak and just doing good. This is the Lord, the Most High, speaking to those who are low and down and out. So it says, "To all who are in exile, and to all I have sent into exile from Jerusalem." So not only are they there, but it was a part of their journey that God predestined that they be there. So it ain't there by coincidence or accident. This was all part of the plan, just as the Savior was planned before he got here to be executed on that cross. There's an element of us that has to go through some difficulty and some hard times. So don't think that it's not in God's will for you to go through stuff, because sometimes God used those hard things to build you. So he's talking to them in exiles. In number 5, he says, "This is what I want you to do in exile." This is what he says: "Build houses and live in them, plant gardens and eat their produce, take wives and be the father of sons and daughters, and take wives to your son, and give your daughters to husbands, and that they may bear sons and daughters, and multiply, and do not decrease. Seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you in exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf for its welfare, that you may have welfare." Like, God is saying, like, yeah, you in this spot, but look, I want you to thrive in the midst of exile. Like, Yeah, it may be a Ford Escort, but put some dubs on it, put some Vogues on it, front in it, or do something like whatever it may be. Like where you at, God's like He wants you to not be suffering and be like, "Woe is me! I'm going through this. I'm down and out." His word says, "Build houses in them, plant gardens, like eat other fruit." So during this process, and I think that's permission, or I won't even say permission because probably some of the stuff I'm gonna do is gonna be considered sinful. But I don't know if I should have said that. But it won't probably all be holy. But the reality of it is, it's like it's not one of those things where you're supposed to be like, "Well, I'm in exile, doom and gloom, poor woe is me." It says, "Hey, no, you prosper, and then you pray for the welfare of the city that you're in." You know, And then this is where it comes in and it says, "Do not let your prophets who are in your midst and your divine deceivers," in let me reread that. "Do not let prophets who are in your midst and your divine deceive you." I mean, like, don't let the prophets deceive you. "Do not listen to the dreams which they dream, for they prophesy falsely to you in my name. I have not sent them, declares the Lord." Like, man, there's going to be people trying to speak into your life during this season. They're going to say, "Hey, you should be doing this and doing that." And God say, "Hey, don't be listening to them. They're going to try to prophesy and try to do these things." He said, I didn't send them. You know, there's a saying out there says, I used to tell people, when God is talking to you, who He's talking to? He's talking to you. So, like, when people come and try to come into your life and speak those things, they should be speaking some things that God has already been trying to talk to you and reconfirming some things. They shouldn't be initiating that with someone else. So they should be speaking some things into your life and really confirming things that God is already speaking to you. He said, "Don't let them deceive you. They don't speak for me." Then it says, "For thus says the Lord, when 70 years have completed, Babylon, I will revisit you and fulfill my good word to you." But see, man, he's like, you're going to be there for a while. And I think that's why God told them back here, like, "Hey, build houses, uh, you know, prosper where you are. So in case you're there for a while, you can at least enjoy yourself while you're there." Um, and then he said, "I will bring you back to this place." And this is where I'm gonna end at, because this is the probably the verse that you're familiar with, and that people don't read the previous version of "these people are in exile." They think this verse is only for comfort, and so I'm going to get to this verse, and it says, verse 29, verse 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans of welfare and not calamity. I give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me, and I will come, and you will pray to me, and I will listen. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord. I will restore your fortunes, and I will gather you from the nations and from the places where I have driven you, declares the Lord. I will bring you back to the place from where I sent you into exile." So God is saying, like, it's all a part of the journey. Like, it's just a difficult class you got to take. Like in college, there's college classes that I completely sucked at. Like, I wasn't good in accounting, and ironically, my wife was great in accounting. I'll tell you one last story. It's like, I knew I wasn't good in accounting, and I knew she was great in accounting. So when we ended up accounting class together, I figured, like, "Hey, we can help each other. You can help get me through this." Do you know? She told me that she needed her space in class. That if I didn't drop the class, that we were going to have issues at home, and she didn't want to help me. Like, she wasn't there. Like, if I didn't know how to pass, then um, I didn't need to pass the class. And I told her, I said, "Look, this is continuing on my job. Like, if I don't pass this class and I don't get my degree, then I don't get the commission." And she was like, "Hey, you need to learn how to do that on your own." So my helpmate wasn't helping me. Long story short, I ended up dropping the class, and it was too late for the drop, so I didn't get a refund. But we fought that first 3 weeks in class. "Well, don't sit by me in class. I don't want to be helping you and asking for help on this. I don't want to help you. Don't. You need to be doing this on your own, just like those other students. You need to be doing this." I'm like, "Man, we're a team." But the reality is, we have never been a team. So the divorce is here, um, but the end was known before. It's taken me 25 years to realize it, and to get woke. Um, but now that I'm woke, my eyes is open, and I'm about to start building houses in this exile, and I'm about to live my life. And a part of me wanted to shrink who I am to stay in this marriage, because I knew that our personalities are different. I was going to say, like, I was willing to change and to, just try to conform to what's acceptable in this relationship. But now I'm free. Like, people gonna have to conform to me. Like, I think it's gonna be a prerequisite for whoever I end up with. They're gonna have to watch all these videos and see how jacked up and that am. Like, I'm not perfect, but I tell you what, I'm getting better. And this process is going to catapult me to becoming better, a better version of me. So, although the election results didn't come out exactly, and we don't know who's what, I'm still rocking with MAGA. Make Andrew great again. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to rock this MAGA, make Andrew great again. And we get through this process, and we'll be better for it. So have a great day, Young Kings. I'll keep you updated on my response to this attorney. Give him a call directly and have him speak with my attorney, and we'll go from there. So stay tuned, Young Kings. Should be an interesting journey.